As a general rule, I try to avoid, wherever possible, speaking ill of the dead. That's Dave, not me. I'll speak ill of the dead all the time. I hate the dead. Douchebags. That's what happens here. Dave writes it, I read it. That's the format of the show. Obviously, there are a few notable exceptions. These include, in no particular order, Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile, and Tim, the old man who lived down the street for me when I was a kid, and who was, to put it bluntly, a prick. Given those two people you named, Jimmy Savile and Jeffrey Epstein, I'm like, Dave, did this man touch you? Which, I don't know, it's not a joke. Oh God, what if he actually means that? And now I made a joke of it. I'm a gross person.
Look, you can talk about your needless shame later.
Just before we continue with today's video, I do want to tell you about our fantastic sponsor, Keeps. Now look, as you can all probably tell, I know a thing or two about male pattern baldness. My hair ran for the hills about 10 years ago, and it's not coming back. However, I'm pretty confident that if I had Keeps back in the day when things just started getting a bit smooth and shiny, it might have been a different story. Keeps is an online subscription service that makes it easy and more affordable for guys like me to treat their male pattern baldness from the comfort of their home. That's right, no inconvenient trips to the doctor's office or pharmacy that take time out of your schedule. You simply order it online and it's delivered directly to your door at whatever time you decide is convenient. And on top of that, it's affordable, typically half the cost of traditional pharmacy prices. Keeps offers clinically proven treatments. According to studies, these treatments are 90% effective at treating hair loss and can increase hair growth by up to 35%. Plus, they have a 2-in-1 gel that's like a superhero for your hair. Most Keeps customers notice results within 6 months of starting treatment. And in addition to great treatments, Keeps also offers hair thickening shampoo, conditioner, and styling pomade. So not only can they help stop your hair loss, but they can make your hair look awesome. All things that I wish I could do. I wish Keeps had been around 10 years ago because, yeah. To date, Keeps have helped nearly 1 million men keep their hair with over 4,500 5-star reviews from satisfied customers. Plus, the delivery arrives, it's non-branded, so discretion is the name of the game here. No need to be embarrassed. Hair loss stops with Keeps. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/Simon or click the link in the description below. That's keeps.com/Simon. And now back to today's video. Assuming you're old enough to have grown up during a time when children still played outside, it is just possible that your street may have had a Tim as well. Tim would do things like spreading drawing pins, thumbtacks for America. Wait, you call it drawing pins thumbtacks? What's that got to do with thumbs or tack? Although what's it got to do with drawing, to be honest? Weird. Thumbtacks. Who would have known? Across the pathway outside his house to puncture the bike tires of children who rode past, put a knife through any football that made its way into his garden, and on at least one occasion called the police if he saw children climbing the trees in the local park.
Prick.
Well, all of these things are a lot less bad than the thing I imagined. So, yay, Tim! As you can imagine, Tim was less than popular, especially among young parents who repeatedly had to spend money on puncture repair kits. In fact, Tim was so unpopular that every year when he went on holiday, the rest of the street would enjoy a huge party on the green, safe in the knowledge that Tim would not be able to come and ruin it for everybody.
And now, we make...
It was during one such party that a couple of dads who may or may not have enjoyed a few too many adult beverages hatched a plan to pay Tim back for all his little social transgressions. Yes, I would be this dad. I'll be like, let's get into some trouble!
Let's get dangerous.
I don't know why. Especially if I'm like with mates who are also somewhat inclined to also get into trouble. You know, it's the sort of shit we'd do when we were 12. But as adults, we'd just be like, yes! Just before he went away, Tim had been bragging to anybody who would listen about the exceptionally expensive luxury shag bar carpet that had installed in the downstairs of his house, and how when he got back he was having a brand new front lawn put in as well. These dads, one of whom was a gardener, decided to combine these two things and provide Tim with a luscious new lawn in his downstairs hallway. Oh god, are they gonna spray like grass seed in through the letterbox and then water so all of the grass germinates? That's mwah, I love it. After spraying several kilos of grass seed through his letterbox and following that with a liberal application of water from a garden hose. Oh, you've ruined it though. That's thousands of pounds worth of damage. Not to mention whatever's happening to the boards underneath the carpet. Oh god, I don't think I'd go this far because I'd be like, I don't want to get sued by Tim and have to pay for all of this and get a criminal record. Like, I wouldn't go that far. I'd like take a shit in his drive or something.
What?
I then went away and presumably thought very little about it until Tim returned 3 weeks later. I was not aware when he returned, but I was told that the grass had seeded very nicely and was growing in his carpet, and it took very long time to restore it to its former glory. Isn't it f***ed? Like, if you got a carpet like that, that's just it. That's just it. You're done. It's just... Also, it's kind of gross. Like, carpets that are like shag par, where it's like too thick... Isn't that just like asking for everything to get all gross and disgusting? Because you can't wash it. It's not like you can throw it in the washing machine. You have to get like a steam cleaner or something. I bought a steam cleaner to clean not carpets, curtains. Like apparently you could steam clean your curtains. And I'm like, okay, well, let's give that a crack. And it didn't work. So I had to spend a fortune getting all my curtains sent off for like dry cleaning, which was upsetting. And then I had this steam cleaner left over, which was also upsetting, except it turns out it's awesome. Like I got 2 young kids. They like where they had breakfast on the dining table was just like holy shit. Like that end of the dining table was just done. Like it was a wooden dining table. I'm like, we're gonna have to have that sanded down and refinished. Hell no. I took out that steam cleaner and was just like blasting that shit off there. It was like caked on Weetabix, weird bits of old melted on cheese. It was gross and it was just done. And you don't even have to touch it. You're just like, and it just gets rid of that shit. Steam cleaners, highly recommended. Back to the video.
Okay.
While this particular practical joke went off without a hitch, there have been times when practical jokers have found their attempts at a harmless bit of fun have gone horribly wrong. In today's episode, we'll look at some of those. I wanted to know Tim's reaction. I want to know his reaction.
Too bad.
Contaminated water supply. When better to stage an elaborate prank than on April the 1st? That way, if your prank upsets anybody, or in this case causes a small-scale panic, you can just claim that anybody stupid enough to fall for it really should have checked the date. This appears to have been the thinking behind 2 DJs, Johnny Dare and Murphy Wells. Johnny Dare is not your real name. Who at 6 a.m. on the 1st of April announced that the water in Kansas City had been contaminated with a naturally occurring substance and was no longer fit for human consumption. It's the sort of thing you'd say if you were like really a big deal and you just had like, I don't know, shares in Evian or something. And you'd just be like, yeah, it's all ruined. So just exactly what was this naturally occurring substance? Dihydrogen monoxide. Oh, this is old school though. This is like, you know, it's water. It's just another way of saying H2O. The broadcasters told their listeners that prolonged exposure to this chemical could lead to, among other things, extreme wrinkling of the fingers and toes. Even worse than that, if you were somehow foolish enough to drink this substance, it could lead to problems such as increased urination and excessive sweating. Wait, drinking too much water leads to excessive sweating? Today I learned! Although they did advise their listeners not to use any of the water that came out of their taps, they did advise anybody who absolutely had to that they boil the water for long enough because it would eventually get rid of this mysterious substance. This is it's quite clever. They're taking it far. So what's the problem? Well, for those of you who didn't pay attention in chemistry class, failure, or have not been able to solve the riddle through simple deduction, dihydrogen monoxide is the chemical name for water. Yeah, also Simon spoiled it for you at the beginning, didn't I?
Yeah, jackass.
That's right, these guys convinced a depressingly large number of Kansas residents that their water had been contaminated with water. According to an article in the Kansas City Star, quote, Gerald Robnett, Olathe Superintendent of Water Protection, said his department received calls from 150 customers, and city officials said around 30 residents called 911, and others questioned the city's main switchboard operator for guidance. Why would you call 911? It's like, I'm sweating excessively. I mean... And who gets that from drinking too much water? I kind of want to just drink too much water now and see if I just start sweating bullets. I don't think so. Although Dare and Wells admitted that the whole thing was a prank after about 2 hours, lots of people quickly became furious and have maintained their state of furiousness to this very day. Those people need to chill out.
This is half an ibuprofen. It is the perfect dose for your pea-sized brain.
Robnett appears to have led the charge on this one, saying that the prank was tantamount to an act of terrorism.
What an idiot.
All right, what was his name? Robnett. Relax, mate. It's not terrorism. It's a joke. Chill out. Going on to say that it was the same as going to an airport and shouting that you have a gun.
No.
It's not the same as that, though, is it, Robnett? You f***ing idiot. In my opinion. Although Kansas officials appear to have lost their collective minds over this, as far as I can tell, the radio station appears to have held it together, ignoring demands that the DJs be fired and simply saying, we never meant for any of this to happen, we thought a couple of people might go to work without a shower. This, in my opinion, seems to be a perfectly proportional response. Yes, agreed. The proportional response is like, semi-funny prank, guys. Bravo. Bonsai kittens. Full disclosure, I actually wrote the majority of this entry for a video on side projects. Okie dokie, that's another channel that I do, by the way, check it out. Sadly, due to a script issuing error, it was never used. That is, until now. I wonder what the script issuing error was. I don't even remember. Okay.
Great job.
So what exactly are bonsai kittens? To answer this question, it is probably best to take a trip through the Wayback Machine to the now deleted website bonsaikittens.com. Once there, I encourage you to check it out for yourselves. You will find that its owners claim to be, quote, dedicated to preserving the long-lost art of body modification in house pets. No, that's obvious. Look, everyone who knows this channel has subscribed to this channel for a while, knows I have no particular affinity for pets. But, body modification of pets, that is just wrong. Stop torturing. It's like, I might not love them, but am I against their torture? Obviously, yes. If that last sentence sounds insane, that's because it is, but we'll get to that in just a moment. If you scroll down the page a little, you'll be asked something along the lines of, have you always wanted a cat? Do you find their shape to be too boring? Have you ever wished that you could enjoy all the benefits of a regular cat, but in your own custom-designed shape? What are you gonna do? Change his legs to have weird right angles? What the fuck?
Sergeant's Angel. Or is it Angle?
I don't even like thinking about it. Well, at bonsaikitten.com, we're able to provide people with specially modified cats in almost any shape they can think of. At Bonsai Kitten, we achieve this by placing the kitten into a rigid vessel soon after birth and allowing the young cat to grow out its formative time entirely within this container. This is so up. The kitten essentially grows into the shape of the vessel. Once the cat is fully developed, it's removed, or the vessel is broken to remove it, producing the lovable furry pet you've always wanted, but it remains the shape that you've always dreamed of. No one is people surely couldn't believe this was real, because no one has ever had the dream, I wish I could have a cat just in a slightly different shape. It's a dream no one has had in the history of the world, ever. Furthermore, readers of this site were actively encouraged to attempt the process themselves, but only if they had obtained the necessary government license.
I have a permit.
This just says I can do what I want.
Obviously, anybody in their right mind would have taken a look at this site, declared it to be cat and moved on with their lives. Or would they? Oh no, don't tell me people were actually trying to do this. Psychos. I thought surely no one would ever do this. But apparently there's sickos out there who will.
Now that's f***ed up.
In spite of the fact that the entire website had been created by students at MIT, partly as a hoax and partly to prove that people will believe anything as long as it's written down in a certain way and has a fancy website, many people still took the bait. This would lead to demands from the Humane Society, among others, that it be shut down immediately, with Karen Alanach, a Karen before Karens were Karening, and a spokeswoman for the National Humane Society, saying that even if the website was a hoax, it needed to be taken down, as it could cause members of the public to attempt to experiment on their own pets. And in this case, I'm with you, Karen.
What?
Because this is going to lead to some problems. Unbelievably, these were not the only people who took issue with the website. Boston FBI agents served MIT with a grand jury subpoena asking for any and all subscriber information. Oh my lord. I would be in that subpoena, because I'd go to that website and be like, this is sick. And in a bad way, not sick, but this is sick. But I'd still subscribe just because I'd be curious, and then I'll be on a list with the FBI. Open up! Once it had been ascertained that the whole thing was, in fact, a hoax, several of the students gave interviews to the press under the pseudonym Michael Wong Chang. One of the students said, "To be honest, we never expected the animal organizations to get involved at all. We thought they'd understand. I really thought the FBI had better things to do. That's your tax dollars at work." That guy is speaking the truth. Although still he needs to shut down his website. Sadly, there are members of the online community that believe this hoax to this very day. Somewhat embarrassingly, I both remember this website originally doing the rounds and being briefly taken in by it. I don't remember that, and I surely can't believe that it would be a real thing. Although back in the day, I feel like maybe I was more gullible, or the internet more gullible, or maybe the internet was just a more innocent place. Where I'd just be like, oh,
Wow.
God, Americans are weird, huh? That would be my reaction. Looking back, I can somewhat mitigate my shame by also remembering that I can't have been older than 13 at the time. I think if I remember correctly, Dave and I are almost the exact same age. So would I have believed this at 13? I think I could have, Dave, to be honest. I think I'd be like, whoa, Okay. I mean, I still thought pro wrestling was cool. Herbal brownies. Anybody who has partaken in God's holy herb will tell you that it is, by and large, usually a rather pleasant experience. How would I know, Dave? I'd never know. Never do that. It's illegal. Although cannabis is traditionally smoked, should you find yourself in an environment where lighting up a massive joint might be deemed socially unacceptable, I've heard from friends that including it in the recipe of your favorite baked good is also a viable option. Yes, and some people would say that that is their preferred option, someone who's definitely not me.
Yeah, baby.
However, should you choose to go down this path, there are a number of things that you should take into account. Firstly, the effects take quite a lot longer to kick in. Secondly, they have a tendency to be more intense and last a lot longer, allegedly, according to my friends. Yeah, it's like the next day where you're like, oh man, I'm really tired. For no reason. Oh, yes. Although I wasn't able to find a single verified incidence of somebody dying as a direct result of a THC overdose, if, for example, you had eaten a cannabis-laced muffin with absolutely no knowledge of what it contains, then the unexpected side effects may very well lead you to believe that something was terribly wrong with you. Yeah, that'd be scary. Like, if you're expecting it, you'd be like, oh my god, I'm super high right now. This is intense. And somebody definitely wasn't me. It was like once had definitely not me, once had some like edible, with once had some like edible stuff. And it's just like in the mirror going like this. Just like, wow, tongues are weird. For like 20 minutes. Not me, that's a story I heard. This is exactly what happened in Dallas, Texas, when two teenage boys, Joseph Tellini and Ian Walker, whipped up a batch of relaxing muffins and then dropped them off in the staff room at their high school. I want to say legends, but you shouldn't be drugging people, because this is like this is really bad. Also, it's a waste of weed. You should have had that yourself.
Yeah.
Presumably expecting nothing more than staff members being so affected by the munchies that they looted the school canteen, I imagine that they became a little more nervous when, one by one, 19 staff members were taken from the school to the nearest hospital. Oh my god. You're like, at first you're like, this is hilarious. Then you're like,
oh god, I'm gonna get a detention, aren't I?
And then you're gonna go,
oh god, I'm getting expelled.
And then it's like,
oh god, I'm getting arrested.
One teacher would later tell the reporters, it affected me for 10 days. I had never had marijuana before. Although about one of these things, I believe he may have been lying, possibly both. They were charged with 5 felony counts of assault on a public servant, which could have resulted in 10 years in prison. God, attention sounds pretty light after that, doesn't it?
Yep.
Tellini pled guilty to 2 secondary felony charges of tampering with a consumer product and 3 misdemeanor charges of assault by recklessly causing bodily harm. Both received a 5-year community supervision order, 180 hours of community service, and were forced to pay almost $14,000 in damages. God damn, there's no jail time, they're kids. But like, shit, that is pretty intense for like a kid. Assuming that the public does not view these crimes too harshly, one of the boys, Walker, has the opportunity to carve out an exceptionally lucrative career teaching the finer points of sarcasm to Americans. In an apology letter, which he presumably was forced to write, he said, I guarantee everyone that this experience has opened my eyes to the real world. I have learned a great deal from it and will never do anything remotely illegal again. There's a sort of bonus edition in this entry. In 2008, almost exactly the same thing happened at a school in Brooklyn when 3 students anonymously donated cakes that had been filled with laxatives. You shouldn't be doing this! As anybody who's ever gone a colonoscopy will tell you, albeit briefly as they sprint to the nearest toilet, laxatives are no joke. I don't think I've ever taken laxatives, but I understand that they make you, need to shit yourself really urgently. Stop sign prank. Altering signage really does have the potential to be amusing. In the United Kingdom, there's a place called Scunthorpe. S-C-U-N-T, Horp. I don't know if this is still the case, but when I visited in 2006, there was a sign that read, you are now entering Scunthorpe, or at least it used to say that until some enterprising young comedian used white paint to erase the letters S-H-O-R-P-E. You see? That spells a word that I can't say because I don't want to get demonetized. It's also an unpleasant word. It's like the worst swear word. You save that one. You keep that one holstered. Like, I'll say all day, but you use the C word when you really mean it. That is amusing, and more to the point, certainly has never resulted in the death of two elderly ladies, two ways in which it differed from a prank carried out in Ohio by Derek Greenlee and Seth Stonerock. Presumably bored of playing Grand Theft Auto in their mum's basements, they decided to indulge in a little bit of automobile carnage in the real world. So what did they do? According to the Columbus Dispatch, they drove out to an intersection in the middle of town while Greenlee waited in the car, allegedly protesting vociferously that the prank was not a good idea. Stonerock covered a stop sign in plastic and petroleum jelly. The two were so impressed with their stroke of comedic genius that as soon as they got home, they bragged about it on Facebook. Initially on Facebook, at least, the response seems to have been fairly positive. That was until at about 4 p.m. an 81-year-old lady drove straight into the intersection, collided with another car, and along with her 85-year-old sister, died. Now, wait, so I didn't really get the thing about plastic and petroleum jelly, but they covered up the stop sign, so people don't know to stop. Dude, that is stupid. This is not a good prank. Even before the people died, I don't know why people on Facebook would be like, this is a good idea. This is a terrible idea and people are going to die. Greenlee ultimately walked free after the judge ruled that there was not enough evidence to prosecute him, but Stonerock, who pled guilty to 2 counts of reckless homicide, would be convicted of 2 counts of involuntary murder and sentenced to 4 years in prison.
An idiot.
That feels quite light. I guess the thing is, because he's dumb, but I would say, I don't know how it works in American law, but a reasonable person would have foreseen the possibility of death, which I think is what would lead it to a more serious conviction. And I think he should have got more time for this, because I think he should have reasonably foreseen that someone could die. He was released after 8 months.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
2 people died! What the fuck? Usually I'm all for, like, Americans and their prison sentences like that is fucking long. That is way too short. Whilst I appreciate that he was a first-time offender, he never considered that what he was doing would actually result in any fatalities, and he genuinely appeared to feel remorse and take full responsibility for his actions, all points that the judge acknowledged upon his early release. Whilst the early release did not sit well with the victims' families, I suppose they can at least take comfort from the fact that Stonerock's parents are praying for them every day. Yeah, that's a great comfort. Brilliant. Hiding in a bin. The last entry comes from a video that I remember circulating some years ago. Unfortunately, I was unable to find this video again, so the description has been written entirely from my memory of the content. Those who work on the bin lorries, garbage trucks for Americans, have a pretty physically demanding job. Although the days where you could leave an unlimited amount of rubbish outside your house in plastic bags and they would take it away no matter what are far behind us. Oh my god, I remember those days. Yeah, there were no wheelie bins or anything. You just put them in a black bag, dump them outside on bin day, and the men would just come and collect them. Now it's like, I've got a tiny ass wheelie bin, and it's like, that's it for the week. That's all the trash you can have. So it's like basically forcing me to recycle. No, I recycle. I'm a good person. It's an ongoing joke in my house. I recently got an electric car, and now whenever my wife finds some plastic in the bin, she's like, why is this plastic in the bin? I'm like, I drive an electric car. I'm doing my parts. Obviously, I know it's bullshit, but I like the joke. My wife's getting real tired of it, but I keep going. Just keep going. Dragging around wheelie bins containing 2 weeks' worth of rubbish from an entire household must build up some serious upper body strength, especially if that household contains a baby. 2 weeks' worth of nappies is really heavy and disgusting. One man from Newcastle experienced this superior upper body strength firsthand when he decided it would be a good idea to hide in his empty wheelie bin and attempt to scare the refuse collector when he came to empty it.
Bitch, I live in a trash can.
What are you up to, bro? Is he gonna fall asleep in there or something and then get composted? Or like not composted, it's even worse, he's gonna get crunched up by that crusher. To be fair to the guy, his prank was 100% successful. When the refuse collect, oh no, it's gonna be 100% successful because they see his mangled body in the thing, isn't it? Oh god. When the refuse collector grabbed hold of the bin and started to roll it toward the truck, only to have some crazy man jump out and scream in his face, he really did seem to be frightened. Unfortunately, there are 2 responses to fear, that of fight and that of flight, and this guy wasn't running anywhere. Reflexively, he unleashed a devastating right hook, which knocked the prankster both clean out of the bin and unconscious. Fucking hell, that's a right hook. It's just, he's in the bin, he's like, bang, and he's flying out of it, and he's on the floor asleep. Shit. As this was just a short clip, I believe on YouTube, I'm unable to provide any details as to whether or not either of them was charged with anything. However, the incident does at least provide a valuable life lesson that we can all take away. Never get into a boxing match with a bin man. Good advice, Dave. good advice. And on that good advice is where we end today's video. Thanks for watching. I'll speak ill of the dead all the time. I hate the dead. Douchebags.